Welcome back, everybody. So glad you could be here with me today in the workshop. Your good buddy Walter here. Today we're going to talk about hocking your plane. That's right. You can hock your Lie-Nielsen 60.5, you can hock your Lie-Nielsen 62, or you can hock any of your Stanley Bailey patent planes. No, I'm not talking about taking them to the pawn shop. I'm talking about adding a Hock blade to them. So, what's involved and why do it? Well, this is the stock blade that came out of this Stanley Bailey number 5. Nothing wrong with it, performs just fine, but it is just a hair, you can see, it's just a hair thinner. I think it's about 14 thousandths. And the chip breaker is the old rounded, humped spring design, whereas the Hock iron chip breaker is just got a little bend in it right there. So, what's involved in doing this out of the package? Very simple. When I get a new Hock iron and I take it out of the package, the first thing I do is inspect it, naturally, for any shipping damage that might need to be ground out. This one didn't have any of that. So I take it to the stone and I flatten the back. This one was very nicely done, but to put it into service right away, without spending any time at all flattening, you can use the ruler trick. You put your ruler on your stone or diamond plate, you put your blade down, and you just hone that front fraction of an inch. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. It's just a little bit. And you can make that as wide or as narrow as you want. I'm not making it very wide because I do eventually want to flatten this. Then as far as sharpening, whether you use a jig, whether you're using diamond plates or stones or sandpaper, none of it matters. You already have a factory fresh bevel. You just simply find that bevel, come up, give it a little kick, a little higher, just a little higher, and you proceed to polish that front edge. There's not a lot of work. Within 2 minutes, I would be surprised that if in any longer than 2 minutes out of the package, you can't be making shavings. And you come back here with the ruler trick and you take the burr off. Burr's gone, burr's gone. That's it. You use your sharpening method, and that's all we're going to say about that. So, on the chip breaker, you need to check to make sure it too doesn't have any shipping damage or any sort of nicks or dings or dangs. I did take this to the stone and just polish it ever so slightly. No burrs, top or bottom. And that's all there is to it. You can wipe a little bit of fine oil on it if you want. And then you proceed to set the chip breaker to the cutting edge depending on the function you're about to perform. So I'm just going to do a general cut. So I'm not going to set this super fine. About a 1/16 of an inch maybe. Just straighten that up. And that's done. One thing you do want to pay attention to when doing this for the first time in a Stanley plane is your frog position. Now, I keep all of my frogs pretty much all the time to where the face of the frog is just advance of that front edge by a fraction. I mean, you can barely feel it. It's right there. So I can put in just about anything I want into this plane without having to move the frog. Put your blade set in on the advance, on the lateral, make sure everything's sitting fine. And then you may need to adjust your screw in or out so that when you put your lever cap on and you go and close the hood, you get a snap. Not overly tight, just a snap. Check for how far the blade is out. Check for lateral. And you're almost ready for a test. So why Hock blades? Well, plain and simply, Ron Hock is perhaps the premier bladesmith in America. Plain and simple. You can buy old Stanley replacement irons that will be beautiful, hard enough to do the task, but not too hard to where you start getting chipping. I use 01 tool steel. I do not order A2. I do not order powdered metal, PMV. I like 01. It sharpens beautifully, takes a keen edge, holds the edge, whether I'm using it in my block plane or whether I'm using it in my bevel up jack plane. Or whether I'm using it in any of my other planes. With my bevel up, I had Ron make a bunch of these for me, so if you're interested in any Hock irons, let me know. I have some here. The 01 tool steel is just sublime. It really is just beautiful. And I love it. That's not to say that the Lie-Nielsen blades are not good. I save my A2. What I do with my A2 blades for my Lie-Nielsens is I take these for the bevel up planes and I put a steeper bevel on here. Steeper angled micro bevel. I don't know if you can see it. There's your primary and then there's a secondary bevel on there. And that gives me a plane that's now very versatile. I can use this for general purpose and end grain, and then I can use this one for cranky woods like bird's eye and curly maple and road wood where the grain goes in both directions. So there you go. That's the 62. And then with the Stanley Bailey patent, you can do this in any of their planes. Number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Even Stanley block planes, rabbit planes, spoke shaves, scrapers. Hock makes them all. Now sometimes you'll hear people talk about putting a thicker blade in to reduce vibration and chatter or blade chatter. Well, in 46 years, I've never had blade shatter. I don't know what it is. Unless I put the plane together completely wrong. Sometimes what you get is a dry sole. And you'll get vibration passing up from the sole into the whole plane. Swipe of oil solves that. And also with chisels, you can do the same thing with chisels. If a chisel is giving you a hard time, you can wipe the back of it, or the back and the front, with a little bit of oil. There we go. All right. So that's what it's all about when we say hock your plane. Let's see how it'll do on some face grain on this one. Not quite sure which way the grain's going on this quarter sawn material. I think it's this way. We'll find out. Now, won't we? Try it the other way. There we go. Let's get some progress lines on here. Any questions? Put them down in the comment section. If you'd like to get a Hock iron, let me know. I've got them here. Especially for the 60.5 and the 62. That's not something you're going to find in any regular store. It's either from me or from Ron Hock. Wow, that's sweet. Sweet sound. Let's see if we can go a little thinner. A little more oil. There we go. People tell me I should always hold the shavings up to the camera. So head out to your workshop. Make some shavings. I hope you liked this and found something useful. If not useful, maybe entertaining. Walter out.